Well, as has sort of become customary here at Legends, the show is being started by the Spitfires. I'm afraid we only have airworthy Spitfires there are in the world and in the country, and needless to say, Peter Arnold, my good friend, the ultimate, and 22 of those are in the UK. And he said the more interesting thing is, they will shortly be taking off and getting ready, and they will be coming in and doing what has been here at Duxford in August 1938. So 70 years ago, an awful lot for the serviceability of the aeroplane, which is superb.
Herr Spink, the Excalibur sword of the 20th century. The Spitfire has been used as a symbol during the dark years between 1940 and 1945. Proof of that is that if you go to the Imperial War Museum, extraordinary, while the Hurricane, which was at least as important than the Spitfire in 2009, it's more than a legend, it's a myth. It's, if I may say, it was during Margaret Thatcher's day, and the Spitfire...
We've got Merlin engine Spitfires, and they are going to be carving holes in the sky very shortly.
What a mark! Nose through a Merlin engine driving a two-blade wooden propeller and ended up with a monster like the Mark, I don't know how much, +1.5, with twin contra rotating number of horsepower, more than double the original.
The last mark of Spitfire, the last official mark, there was something like 46 identical. Funnily enough, the other one was the fairy swordfish of all things.
The swordfish?
Yeah, that was in service on the first and last day as a frontline aircraft. A lot of other aircraft, Hurricanes for example, have been relegated to second line duties by the time the end of the war.
It is only here in Duxford during Flying Legends you'll see a mass takeoff, a formation takeoff by Spitfires, and one lonely Messerschmitt, the Villain, flown by Air Vice Marshal Herr Spink, and Spitfires are ready to take off on a mission. Taking off a Spitfire is not that difficult. In fact, Griffins first.
Wonderful clipped wing 14 followed by the 18 and then the 19. Photo reconnaissance mark 19 was able to fly very high and very fast. Now, how is it to fly a Spitfire?
Seen from the ground, it's sad. Seen from inside the aircraft, it's incredibly noisy, vibrating, but at the same time very harmonious.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this commentator would like to announce he has flown one. Spitfire's design was when somebody at Rolls-Royce, a wonderful man called Stanley Hooker, realised that you could increase the power of the engine by an incredible amount if you supercharged it and then supercharged it again. To get the low back with the teardrop canopy, which we see on the Mark 16, the second of the Merlin Spitfires coming past you now. Coming in from the right now is John Romain in the aircraft restoration company Mark 9.
Attacking the Messerschmitt. Arguments with the Messerschmitt. For instance, the Messerschmitt, who was fuel injected, would do some maneuvers the Spitfire could not duplicate. The Messerschmitt could dive in a hurry, very quickly, faster than a Spit. Doing the yo-yo. On the straight, down low, you've got something like 3 speed, which you translate into altitude, and then potential energy, altitude, which you transfer into speed. Junkers in Germany, or Messerschmitt in Germany, and all these companies were run by individuals with very strong, they were very marked characters. Most of them were more architects than engineers. They knew how to compute and calculate, of course.
Pass underneath the channel, or as you would like to call it, La Manche, was a Booker Jungmann, and it was in the back of a truck that I was driving.
Which of course was a bit heavier, but still retained the incredibly light controls of the Jungmeister, called the Jungmann. And this one in the sky being
anti-Junkers. Used initially in the war as jumped from these when he was in the French paratroopers, and he said he always came out upside down because he always hit the top of his parachute pack on the door.
For instance, to China. You would board one of them in the superb Berlin Tempelhof like that and spend a week flying during daytime. At night you would stop in beautiful hotels here and there, and during the flights you would spend quite a time with your nose deep. This was a daily and normal event for aerial travelers. At this time it was not called air transport, it was called air travel. And pilots were not mere technicians, pilots were artists. And here we have one, the Greek air, like this one, is more than that. And Anna is a beautiful aviator. And all of them are volunteers to fly on this piece of history. And the waiting list to become a U-52 pilots with Lufthansa is 7 years. And the list is supposed to be hundreds of names long. Everybody wants to fly in it, and this aircraft operates pleasure flights and has flown up to now more than 250,000 passengers under the Lufthansa banner. And here comes Anna from the left.
Some heavy metal.
Yeah. We're changing continents.